Hey there, everyone. Welcome to episode 11 of the No Reservations podcast. This one is titled Community Connection Building Relationships Beyond the Table. All right, so this one's probably going to be pretty short, although I guess I probably said that before and I lied. Because you might think that I'm stating the obvious, but I want to go a little bit deeper on what it really means or what it can mean to you to truly build community connections and how that's going to help your business, your restaurant. So there's so many things I can say about this, but for me, it starts with when I sold my last restaurant. So that's back in 2006, 2007. It was 2000. I think it was summer 2006 is when we signed the final paperwork. I had to stay on and do some work at the end. So sometimes that final date is a little foggy, but I want to say we definitely had closed the restaurant summer 2006. And I started up this new business, Spark, right? And in order to get some clients, I learned about this thing called BNI, which stands for Business Networking International. And it's these groups that meet in person then, and they still do meet in person now, but a lot of them are also remote, where it's a 1 seat per profession group of professionals, a lot of business owners, but also a lot of just, independent reps like insurance brokers and bankers and things like that. And everyone gets 60 seconds to talk about their business. And then basically every quarter, you get to do like a 10-minute presentation. You really just get to promote yourself and learn about all these other local businesses. And then the like-minded goal is to help each other out. So I was pretty blown away. The first meeting I had went to, I think there was about 60 members. Now they're rarely that big anymore, but at that time. So again, when I first went, it was probably 2007 or 2008 when I went to my first BNI meeting. Chapters were that big. These were called chapters, and you met every week. And it was important that you meet weekly, but that's a whole other concept. And you met for about 90 minutes in the morning. And that's how if you didn't do weekly, you didn't really get to form those relationships. So even though it was kind of a chore to do it, that's how you built these strong relationships with all these other people in your community who then, once they get to, learn about you, know, like, and trust you, will really keep you front of mind and start to help promote you and your services. And I saw the magic and the value in that early on. I know I had said, I think in an earlier podcast, I was talking about how the first time I went, I think I had 6 people lined up to talk to me about bookkeeping for their companies. And then I'd say a few months into being a member, I think I had over 20 clients all through BNI. So I really built my business on it. But I remember thinking at the time, when I was there and just watching what this whole thing was about, these 60 people, one by one, getting up and talking about themselves and business, et cetera, their businesses, et cetera. I was thinking, wow, if I had known about this when I had my restaurant, I think things would have been different. Because if you think about it, if I had been a member of a BNI, again, I didn't know anything about BNI. I never even heard of it when I had my restaurants. This was something I learned later on. But had I known and joined one of the chapters in Boston, let's say, and there were several, and there probably still are several around Boston, where people would get to know me as, at that time, the owner of Bomboa. One, definitely those people would be coming into my restaurant, right? Because who doesn't like to say that they know the owner, that they want to kind of come in because they know they're most likely going to get the red carpet treatment in some way, shape, or form, right? So not only would I have those members, and again, the chapters at the time were between 40 and 60 people, plus their visitors and things like that. So I would have all that. I also now have a venue where whenever they held after hours, which I'd say every month or about every 6 weeks, there was always some type of event being held at a restaurant or a bar or whatnot, for people to have an after hours type mixer. So I would be the venue for that. Then all of these people, most of them have families that, have birthdays, celebrations, graduations, anniversaries, and who would be their go-to for that? So my mind was thinking the possibilities were endless. And all I had to do was show up at this meeting, listen to everybody talk about their businesses, and I'd be able to use them. I've met some great insurance people, lawyers, CPAs, all kinds of different businesses through BNI. So not only would I be able to surround myself with some pretty great other professionals that I can utilize in my business, but they were definitely would have utilized me as a restaurateur, or why would they have not, right? Because again, it's a community-based organization. So, and I think that's just scratching the surface of how important it is, even if you're an introvert like myself, or you just hate people and you hate socializing, whatever. I'm with you. Like, I 100% pretty much in that way 90% of the time. But you need butts in the seats in your restaurant, right? You need clients for your business. So figure out what your stomach can deal with in terms of some type of networking, community building. And that could be a BNI group. And there can be a little pricey, but honestly, they work. So I'd say I would almost recommend that to start out with. But you also have the Chamber of Commerce, which of course is not as organized or as a one seat per profession, and people aren't there specifically to help you grow your business necessarily. But still, the thing with joining a chamber is you could easily say, oh, I joined the chamber, and maybe pay their monthly due, but then actually never show up to any of the events. So then what's the point? Because your name might appear in some magazine they send out every quarter that nobody reads. No, you actually have to go to the events. And so BNI requires your participation, otherwise they kick you out. So joining some type of networking, business-oriented community is a game changer in terms of having a consistent level of people utilizing your business, your restaurant. And not only just that first tier of the actual members, but again, their friends, their family, their network, their coworkers, their bosses, their employees, also doing that, also utilizing your restaurant. So it's not something that we did in my restaurant. We did not join. We were part of a couple of organizations, the Mass Restaurant Association, which everyone should absolutely join that anyway. Just the price point is so low and you can get value of it, but it's not like there's a weekly or a monthly meeting to go to. But I would just join that for other reasons. But find a community, find an organization that's business-based that you can meet with, that meets on a regular basis, and just get out there. The whole point of this, really, of this episode, but also the whole point of networking in general, is to get your face out there and your personality, your name. Like, that is legitimately the whole point of it, is to become known in a sense. And that might feel uncomfortable. It still feels uncomfortable to me to even say that out loud. But I mean, when you boil it down, that's all it is. It's to be known. And you, whether you agree with me or not, if you are in business that needs people to buy stuff from you, then you need to care about this. You need to get out there, get your face out there, get your name out there, and you need to put on that persona, whatever it is that you want to represent for you and your business. You need to get that out there, and you need to get it out there a lot, because no one's going to remember it once, 2 or 3 times. As a matter of fact, one of the trainings through BNI said there was a whole training and science behind how it takes 7 times. Someone has to see you or hear your name or read the same thing 7 times in order for it to actually take up a little bit of space in their brain. So that's why something like a regular BNI meeting, which was weekly, or if you can find something that might be at least monthly, and you go and you show up and you actually participate, then you're going to start sinking in more to people's minds. Without them even realizing it, they're going to start thinking of you, your restaurant, your business more, recommending it more, going more themselves, if that's applicable. That is what will happen. But you just have to get out there, and you have to get in front of it, and you have to be visible, and you have to be consistent. Now, I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. I hate this stuff myself. I literally could just live on my couch in my house and never leave it and be fine. People disagree with me when I say that, but I honestly think it's true. Especially now that I'm older, I actually much prefer my own company than dealing with drama or anything else. But that's not helpful when you're trying to grow a business. So here's the thing. You don't have a choice. You have to get out there and do it. So pick your poison. Find out one thing and figure out how much you can dedicate to it. So for me, BNI is once a week. It's a 90-minute meeting. So for 90 minutes a week, Could I give up 90 minutes a week of my time to go do this thing that I know would return investment of thousands of dollars, possibly a month, at least a quarter, if not a month? If I amped it up, it could mean that much money, because that could just be one mixer, one event, or it could be a bunch of people sending in their relatives themselves, but not for celebrations or eating out. Would 90 minutes a week be worth that for me to get that in return? For me, yes. You need to find out what makes it worth it for you. That's the bottom line. And I find it important to say this because we actually have a client here, a restaurant client, that I convinced to host our BNI meetings at one point. I think we ended up meeting there for maybe 2 years. I think it was about 2 years. And here's the thing. Our BNI meetings met early in the morning, and this is a dinner time restaurant. So definitely was not ideal in terms of the regular staff for that restaurant to show up at 7 a.m. to open the restaurant. So a group of, 50 people could come in and they'd make us coffee. And that was literally it. I mean, this owner just did not like to have to do that, even though I tried to talk him into, listen, you don't have to do it. Pay one of your wait staff that you trust with a key. And there's always at least one or two. Maybe it's probably not a bartender because they close up at night. Pay someone else to come in, put some coffee on, and open and just sit there for the 90 minutes that we're there. And then they can close up and go home. Pay them for it because we're going to pay you to rent the room. So just pay them $50 or whatever to come in and do that. Then it's no skin off your back. You don't have to get out of bed. And you're going to make the income from our group who pays for the room and coffee. But if we were having a special presentation, or they could sell, hey, we'll do it, but we want you to commit to some food purchases, and we're going to, bring in some croissants and some muffins for you. I don't even care if you make them, although you might make more money on it. And say, okay, the room rental is now going to be $500 a week because we're going to provide you with all these things. Not only would we probably have said yes, and every member would have chipped in to have their breakfast there, it would be a lot easier for us to bring in guests to come, because that was always kind of a tricky thing to try and bring in guests because it was early in the morning. We would do that, bring in guests, and also the restaurant would make money. It didn't require a huge amount of staff. And we would be learning more and more about this place. It would become like our place. Of course, we were going to have our nighttime mixers there. I'll tell you this day, I have my company Christmas party. I'm going to have my son's graduation party there, all because of knowing this place and networking there. So that's just my own experience, but other people will have the same experience. So it's so important to do this. It's so important to be visible and present in your community, whether you like it or not. But again, pick what you can live with. Know that there is definitely a return on investment for you, and you might even learn to love it. Or maybe there's somebody else, once you kind of get out there and get your face out there and decide, all right, now it's time for me to fade into the background and I'm going to put this person. Maybe it's your general manager, or maybe it's your sous chef, or maybe it's someone else who's an extrovert who actually loves doing those things. Send them out as your representative. It's almost the exact same thing as you being there, but now you have someone else. And then maybe you show up once or twice a year to say hi and chit chat, and people would go nuts for it. So, all right, I said I was going to keep this one short, and I am, but I just cannot explain to you how important it is to become a part of something or some things in and around your community, not just for the benefit of the community, which is great as well. And I would always recommend doing that. And I'm not talking about, a comp to dinner for two for a soccer boosters club, although you can do that if you think that's going to be of value to you. I personally don't. I would go big or go home and getting involved with my community. And I certainly would do something that meets regularly so that you're in front of people all the time, talking about how great your business is, getting into their brains. And then now you have a built-in regular clientele from it, guaranteed. All right. So that's it. I hope that makes sense. I hope you go out there and you do what I'm telling you. Just try it out give it a few months of 110% of you, and then come tell me that doesn't work, because I know that it will. All right. So once again, thanks again for listening. Please like or review or, share whatever people do with podcasts, because we're really trying to get the word out, and I appreciate you being here and listening. Have a great day.